Hello everyone, welcome back to another video sewn by Nikki. So today I've been getting a lot of comments on the previous dog video I did, making a dog collar. If you haven't seen that, go ahead, take a look at it, look through my videos, the playlist, so you can go ahead and see that. But I've been getting a lot of messages and comments on it, so I thought it would be really cool for me to show you how you can make a dog leash for your dog like this. So I'm going to let you know what you need. We're going to make a very strong leash for the pooch. All right, so let's get started. All right, so to do this project, you are going to need some webbing, okay? Some 1-inch wide webbing. You're going to need about 44 to 50 inches of it. You can decide, okay? I'll tell you why 44 inches in a moment, but 44 inches or longer, okay? This one right here that I completed, just so that you know, so that you have an idea, with it folded down. So this entire thing, this leash here, is 45 inches. Okay, when we add on this clasp here, it's 47 inches long. Okay, all right, just to give you an idea. Okay, so you're going to need webbing that's about 44, anywhere from 44 inches up. Okay, then you're going to need a piece of fabric. I love doing the dog leashes with scraps, with the edge of a fabric that I'm already using, that I've already used. So this right here, this is 4 inches wide, and it came off of the side of the raw edge of the fabric. So I didn't use the middle of a fabric. So this right here is 4 inches wide, as you can tell, by 45 inches long. Okay, all I did was fold the fabric just like this, and I just cut off 4 inches from the side with the raw edges. So that's all. This is how it looks when it came off the boat folded. Okay, so we want 4 inches wide by a minimum of 45 inches. Okay, all right, let's get started. Oh, you also need a lobster. This is called a lobster clasp. Okay, so you need one of these. This is thicker. Okay, it's not like the ones that we use for zipper pouches or for wristlets. Okay, it's for a dog leash, so you want it to be a little strong, okay, and thicker. Okay, so that's all you need for this project. Get your pins and your scissors, but that's all. All right, so let's get started. I just said that already. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, put your webbing to the side. What we're going to do first, you're going to take the material, fold it over, raw edges to raw edges. Okay. Oh, you need your iron, guys. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to iron over, just to put a crease in the middle. Okay. Raw edge to raw edge. Okay. It doesn't have to be creased hard. We're just using it as a guideline for when we fold this in. So it doesn't need to be creased perfectly. Okay. All right. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to open it back up. I'm going to take one side of it, fold in, and then I'm going to finger press. I'm going to take the other side. I'm going to fold it in a little bit. I don't want it meeting. I don't want it touching the other raw edge. Okay, I want like 1/8 of an inch open. Okay, then I'm going to press it. So I left a little gap purposely. Okay, that's what I did there. Let's scoot it down. So I can see that middle where we creased. We used it so that it will be able to help us know where to fold that fabric to. Okay, I'm leaving a little space in between, tiny little space. I'm going to flatten down. I want to iron these edges. We do want these looking pretty now. We do want them nicely ironed. Okay. Okay. Getting down all the way down to the bottom. This is the easiest but strongest dog leash. Some people put interface. I don't. I got something stronger, and it's machine washable. Okay, when you're done with these, you're going to be able to machine wash it, but hang dry. You're going to be hang drying this, not to put it in the dryer because of the webbing that's inside of it, that we're going to place inside of it. Okay, and I'm getting to the end. Don't worry if your raw edge has this on it, you won't even see it. Okay, I purposely use that part of the raw edges on the fabric because I knew we weren't going to see it. Okay. Okay. So now I'm going back over to one side. So normally you see this is where we would fold this. Okay. But what you're going to do right now is you're going to grab your webbing. Grab that 1-inch webbing. What we're doing is sliding this inside. Slide it right inside of one piece. It doesn't matter what piece. Okay. But slide it right inside. And what you want to do is move it down a tiny bit from the top. Okay. So we want to have about this much space at the top. Okay. All right. And now what we're going to do, because we don't want to see any raw edges when we're done, we're going to fold this over. Okay. Almost just to encase the webbing. All right. Iron that. Okay. Just be careful there because we want to be able to melt the webbing on the fabric to adhere it, but you do not want to iron onto the entire strap. Okay, so now we're going to close this webbing up inside of here. Okay, we're going to close the tab, fold this over. Okay, so you see, it made a very clean edge there. Okay. That's what we did. I'm going to pin this here while we go down and do the rest. Okay, so all I'm doing is getting this webbing in, and I'm lining it right up with the crease in there that we created right here, right at the edge of one side. Tucking it in there. Now, it doesn't matter what color webbing you use, you're not going to see your webbing. So if you have some that's left over from another project, maybe you were doing it simple tote bag, you can use that webbing. It doesn't matter, you're not going to see it. If you choose a complete white fabric, then of course you don't want to use black webbing. But if you choose anything with a pattern, you won't see it inside. Okay. I'm just ironing it down to flatten it. Let me show you which part we're doing right now, just so that you have an idea. So what we're doing right now is we're actually putting that webbing inside of here between the two layers of fabric. Okay, and we're putting it in there, folding it in there, and we're going to eventually end up sewing down both sides of this material. So that's what we're doing. Okay, I'm going to pin here. I'm getting it in there. Okay, now to the end. And you'll just have to move this around with your fingers, just so that you make sure the webbing is just positioned really nicely inside of there. Getting down to the end. I cut a little bit too much, so I'm going to snip some off because we want to do the same thing at the bottom that we did at the top. We want to create that little fold so that we have a nice clean edge. Okay. Guys, I broke off my nails. They were my real nails. I broke them off because the gel just destroyed my nails. So, okay. Okay, so here we go, and folding over. Okay, so it's just like at the top. And I'm just going to iron it just to flatten it out. And we are now going to sew down these sides. So I'm going to put the pin there to hold it. Okay, so now we have about 44 inches right now. Okay, so now we're going to go use the sewing machine. I am going to sew on 3.0. Okay, turning on my machine. Make sure you have coordinating thread. Okay, and stitching at 3.0. Okay, I'm going to remove that first pin. I'm going to start out sewing across this way, just so that I make sure that I get the top of that fabric stitched. Okay, I'm stopping, pivoting, and we're going to go all the way down. I like to start sewing the length down the length on the side that is open, on the side of the material that's open. This way I know it's closed up and it won't force the fabric to move. It won't shift. And I'm sewing 1/8 of an inch using that first guide marker there that's on the foot. 1/8 of an inch is good because if you can see it, it gets you close enough to the edge where you're not in the middle, but yet it keeps it right along the edge where it's going to look good, like a beautiful top stitch. And it's closing up those seams. Removing my pin. You might have to make sure you put the full fabric in front of you, because if you put it to hang down, it'll get stuck between you and your table. Don't forget to remove your pins. This is one of those projects you want to make sure that you have enough thread in your bobbin, because you'll be sewing a long length and you don't want it to run out in the middle. Almost there, almost at the bottom. I'm gently holding the opposite side, the top part, as it goes through, because it's sort of like pulling, straightening the fabric, putting a little bit of tension on the side that I'm pulling over here. And that's what we want to make sure, so that your fabric doesn't bunch up. So I'm almost back down to the end. And we have that beautiful fold down here that we did. And I'm turning, go all the way to the other side. All the way back down. Take your time if you need to. I've been sewing a long time, so I know where my line is, and I know that I'm creating an even line, a straight line. Almost done. And when you get to the end, make sure you go over the part that you started with. I'm back stitching, so remember to back stitch. Okay. And remove. Of course, there's a cutter. I never use it. Okay, so now what we want to do, we want to go and take any part of the strap that you want to. Grab your lobster clasp, slide it right inside, and all you're going to do is fold it over. Okay, so what we're doing right now, we're creating this part right now. So all we're going to do is take it, put it on, fold it over. Okay, just like that. That's all. That's about 2 inches. Okay, you could do less if you wanted to. You could do 1.5 inch, but if you're just starting out, you don't want to have to fight with this when it goes next to your foot. What we're going to do right now is we are going to try to go right over that same line. We want to go over this line. So we want to sew down. We want to create a box. Okay, we want to create a square, because then we're going to reinforce it by making the X inside. Okay, it's the really, really good way to strengthen your strap. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to start with it in the machine this way. So when I put it into the machine, put your clasp so that it goes out. Okay. All right. And I'm about, let's see, I want to show you how far I am, just so that you can get an idea. So what we want to do is we want to make a box here about 1 inch. We want to start right about 1 inch from the bottom right here. Okay, so that your box will end there. Okay, so make sure you back stitch. I'm sewing right over the same line that we already sewed. I like to keep the least amount of stitch lines visible as possible. Okay, and again, I'm going over the same line that's on the bottom. Back stitching, turning. I'm going down 1 inch. I'm going to make sure that I stop right across from where I started, right there. Okay, you see that? All right. And I'm going to close up that box. And if you look over here, this is the reason why you want to go down about 1 inch, because look how close the foot is right here next to the clasp. Okay, which is why you only want a box that's about 1 inch, because my foot right now is going to ride up right alongside the clasp. You see this? You see? I knew that it was going to be 1 inch, because I know that I don't want this walking foot to have to try to go on top of there. It's just not going to, because it won't fit underneath there. Okay, now I'm back over at the edge. Do not take your needle out, just pivot, and you're going to turn it around so that you're at the top part of your box. And now what we're going to do is sew a diagonal line across to the opposite corner, okay, for the first part of our X. Okay, so now you can take it out from underneath the needle. Okay, and now what we want to do we'll take out the strings in a minute. We want to create a line going across this way, okay? That way, the opposite end now. And remember to back stitch. Okay. And we're done with the bottom part of that. Okay. You can cut off your little stragglies. Okay. And now we're going to go to the top part of the leash. So now we're going to create this part of the leash, the handle. Okay, so what we're going to do, go to the top part, and this is the last part of it. Okay, you're going to fold it over. This is about 7 inches. Let's see. Okay, let's see. You can fold it over. I pretty much just put my hand inside. Oh, look at that, 7 inches. Okay, sometimes I can eyeball the measurements, guys. Okay, so I pretty much just put my hand inside, and I wanted to see if I put my hand inside, when I go like this, if my hand fits. I have fat hands, so you might not need it that wide. You may not need the strap that wide, but okay, so this is what we're doing now. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to create another square right here to actually just close up this handle. Okay, so go ahead, pin it if you need to. You shouldn't need to because it's not going to move anywhere. I'm going to pin for the purpose of this video, but I'm going to pin down here. Okay, okay, that didn't, there you go. Okay, so now go ahead and start and create your box here on the very end. You want it to be at the tip of your fold. Okay, so create a 1-inch box there. I'm gonna do the same thing we did on the top, on the bottom of the leash. And remember to back stitch. Back stitching is going to hold them stitches in there, folks. So be sure to get it in there. After a while, you know, cotton, when you wash it over and over, cotton does shrink and sometimes it loses its stitching. So you just want to put a few extra stitches in there. So I closed up my square and now I'm doing the same thing I did before. I'm turning and I'm making my X. Okay. I'm going to do the other part of the X and then we're done. Back stitching. And that's it. Guys, guess what? You have a completed dog leash. So this is why I love these little things. I love these little snippers because you get to clean up your project. And so, all right, that's all. Look what we just created. You have a nice, strong, sturdy dog leash. That's all. So now you can actually make matching bandanas. Go check out the other video if you haven't seen the dog bandana to put on the collar. You can actually make a collar and a leash for your pooch. So that's all. Thank you for joining me for another video. And subscribe if you haven't. You know, I like to do real-time tutorials where I'm teaching you how to sew things that you can use for everyday life. So if you have any questions, put them down below. Otherwise, subscribe and I'll see you for the next video. Bye. Thank you for joining me.